Vikings talk. It's Purple Daily on Score North and ScoreNorth.com. Purple Daily, presented by Surly Brewing Company.
That's right. Purple Daily, comments from YouTube. Monday, so it's Judd and Declan, sponsored by both TCL. You should be watching your sports on a TCL TV because it's the best there is. And also Surly Brewing Company. Don't forget our draft party on Thursday, April 28th. No admission. Doors at 3. We start at 6 with our show. And the Before I Die beer will be featured, a beer specially made for that evening. All right, Declan Goff, what type of comments do we have from YouTube regarding the Vikings?
All Minnesota Vikings draft day scenarios.
Okay, I like it.
Heavy on the NFL draft. Yes, as you said, just 10 days away. We'll be live from Surly. Last year, Judd, I had a few too many at home, so I'm excited what happens in public this time. I'm curious what happens. I'm going to have to get dragged out of there.
You might want to behave yourself.
Might want to behave myself.
We'll want to behave yourself.
We'll see. But it could make for a great show, though. You never know that.
Yeah, it could be.
You never know that.
Thanks,
all right,
Harry Carey.
Let's start with this one from Bill. Bill says, solidify the O-line, actually, with the 12th pick. There may be a chance that one of those top linemen drop, and you have to build from the trenches out. I'm not sure the top offensive line prospects off the top of my head here, Judd Zolgad, but if one of them did fall, one of those offensive, you're not tackles, because your tackles are obviously solidified.
Right.
But if a good guard or a good center, Linderbaum could be there, what are your chances that you take an offensive lineman?
Probably pretty small. So one is at guard. I think that the most important question at guard is probably depth, and you've got a bunch now. That doesn't mean that you've got great players. There is no way on God's green earth that I see them investing a first-round pick, though, at guard. The Linderbaum thing's interesting at center, but I don't think they're going to go back to that well. And I think that there is an off chance that early on, if he's available, that they might go after that Nebraska kid in like the second or third. But I think the chances of a chances of an offensive lineman going to the Vikings in the first round is just about nil, because if they were in that predicament, I think they trade back. I think they trade back. I do not think that they are going to, no way that I see them taking an O-lineman at 12.
Yeah. Evan Neal's a good tackle. I know the Vikings tackles situation is solidified here. Iquanu is another guy from NC State. Charles Cross is number 5 on PFF's big boards. I'm looking at the
But those
big
guys are going to start. So like you're not going to take, wouldn't take a really good tackle to add depth and then not play that person.
Right. I wouldn't be surprised too if one of those guys did fall and a team does come calling up to 12 to make that pick.
Sure.
I wouldn't be surprised by that at all. I have PTSD with centers. Like, I don't want to draft Tyler Linderbaum. I'm scared.
It's very rare that you take one in the first round. That's part of the problem.
Yeah.
So, like, you draft them, and that's fine. But if you go back, John Sullivan, I think, was a 5th round pick. Like, ordinarily, you take him. I think Elflein, who didn't materialize, I think he was a 3rd round pick.
Yeah.
So the fact that they invested in Bradbury in the first round is not the norm, and I would argue that you don't have to do that. So yeah, I don't think they're going to take, especially at 12. They're not going to take a center. I think Linderbaum might go in the back end of the first round, but I don't think he's going to go anywhere near 12.
Yeah, even like Matt Burke was a 6th round pick for the Vikings.
Yeah, you don't ordinarily take him in the first round.
No, you don't.
That's very rare.
KFT on our YouTube comment section says, if possible, trade back if Derek Stingley is gone. If they can't, then I would take the best player available or the player with the biggest potential to be a game changer. Obviously, the Vikings have been mocked to Stingley. They've been mocked to McDuffie. It just seems like cornerback is inevitable with this team. If those cornerbacks are all gone, Judd, are you tempted to just take the best player available, or is it more enticing to pick up the phone and answer some of those calls and move back?
Well, personally, I'd like to see if they could move back and get a 2023 first-round pick in doing so. That would probably be my preference. But to that point, and this is where I think we are far too often ignoring that the possibility exists. I think the best player available in their eyes at that pick might be a receiver if Stingley's gone, and that's why I don't think we can dismiss that one. I guess the question becomes this. We need to think of this in terms of what O'Connell is going to do as far as personnel and depth chart goes. And the receiver position with the previous administration had decent depth. I think with this current coaching staff, they don't. And we need to keep in mind Adam Thielen is an aging player who gets hurt. All right? This is all why I think that there is a far better chance that people think that they would take a receiver at 12. Personally, I'd probably trade back.
Michael says, if Trayvon Walker, an edge player, Ahmad Gardner, cornerback, or Jordan Davis, who I believe is out of Georgia, are available at pick 12.
Jordan Davis, yeah.
You draft them. If not, trade back. So Michael kind of has three. I think Sauce is going top 10. I don't know if he's top 5, but I think he goes top 10. He looks like he's probably the best cornerback in the draft. This one, too, from William that you've kind of been hammering on as well. You hinted on it earlier in this episode. You said, trade down to around 20th and get the first-round pick next year plus the additional third. I know that was the blueprint for the Justin Fields and the Bears trade. I just don't know if the Steelers would be willing to also give up their first in next year's draft. Not to say you shouldn't be offering it, but I think it's going to be too hard to get a first-round pick when you're at 12. Like if you're in the top 10 and Fields went, did he go 9 or 8? I think he was near the top 10. So
he was.
I just think where the Vikings are at, they just are right outside of that positioning where they could get a top first round pick in next year's draft. Maybe, I mean, like the Chiefs have 2, right? Like the Chiefs, I believe, have 2 first round picks. So do the Packers towards the back end of this year's draft. Could you get one of those late ones next year? Maybe. I don't know. I think it's going to be too difficult to get a first round pick next year.
It all depends on how the draft is going that night. And what it depends on is this. If Willis and or Pickett are both there, can you create a bidding war between 2 teams that are desperate? Because you can get a first round, you can get a 23 first round pick from desperation. If they're both gone and teams are like, well, we like guys, but not enough to trade you our 2023 first round pick. But I think the quarterback position, because it's always the wild card, right? Because the quarterback position makes people do stupid things. So like if I can create competition between, let's just say, the Saints and Steelers or something like that, that's where I think that you could probably convince a team to trade you their 2023 first round pick. But if those guys are gone, it gets, in my opinion, a lot tougher.
Another wide receiver one here from Stuart, who says, I've decided that I'm all in on Chris Olave, right? From Ohio State.
Olave, I think it is.
Olave, yeah. At 12, smooth, polished, fast, soft hands, great route runner. A lot of football there. I'm going to hit him.
Yeah, you hit that sounder.
Football, yep. Anytime I hear soft hands and polished, I got to hit him with the football. He has everything, and I predict he'll be the best wide receiver out of the draft. He is also the 21st player on Pro Football Focus's big board. They say one of the best route runners in college football and the most consistent downfield threat in the class. In total, 13 of his 65 catches ended in scores last year. This wide receiver thing is so intriguing to me, Judd, but I don't know. I just don't know if I can convince myself to do it at 12. I just don't know, man.
I don't care about you. I care about them. I care about KOC. I care about the fact that this team is going to be, I mean, at some point in time, and we're yet to be there. I understand that, folks. But at some point in time, the Minnesota Vikings with Kwesi and KOC in charge are going to show that they are different than the Spielman-Zim Vikings.
Yeah.
I totally get your point, but again, you have to open your mind. And this is not a critique of you, but we have to open our mind to at some point, they're going to change things up. Mm-hmm. And so I think the receiver position is far more instrumental than we think. Because previously it was sort of like, you got Diggs and Thielen, or now you got JJ and Thielen. But I think you're going to see far more 3 receiver sets. I think you're going to see, like, you can't create the, what's KOC's thing?
Illusion of complexity?
Yeah, you can't create it with guys that can't do it. And so I do believe firmly that Justin Jefferson is going to be the Cooper Kupp. So I think he is the guy. But my God, if you could bring in a really good young talent behind him, and now you've got Thielen, for as much as he can play, and he certainly does some things red zone very efficiently, I am willing to be very open to what I think is going to be a difference in philosophy that ultimately Vikings fans are going to welcome.
How about that? Drafting a receiver would do that. Like that That's different.
Well, right. And the thing we have to keep in mind is, so if Irv Smith stays healthy, Irv Smith is a threat because he is basically a hybrid tight end receiver, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but beyond that, I don't think, despite what KOC says, I don't think the tight end's important here. Like, I think it plays a role, but I don't think it's like we got used to Tyler Conklin caught another pass. Unbelievable. Well, he's gone now. But I also think that the way that we're going to see this offensive system deployed with personnel is going to call on more receivers to be, if nothing else, threats, right? So, like, there's just so many things that are going to subtly and, in some cases, not so subtly, completely change here. And the draft is going to help you fill those. Like, because, Dex, if you take a receiver first round and that guy is day one, a legitimate athletic threat, now you've got Thielen, Jefferson, who, no question, is now your star, this new kid, Osborne, who I think is a 3. Mm-hmm. Like, I like Osborne. And he, I think, is going to turn out to be a really nice pick. But I don't think I would force feed him too much. So now you've got 4 guys. Because you got to talk about, the illusion of complexity is all about weapons. It's all about weapons because you have to perceive guys as threats. Jefferson can be your star, but if I perceive the rest of your guys as, oh, yeah, you say you're going to do that, but the perception of threats is what makes that complexity dangerous.
Emma Liz on our YouTube comment section says, about a week ago, Judd and Declan said maybe a 5% chance that we go receiver at 12. And now it's Judd's prediction, and that's what I'm talking about. Wide receiver all the way. We'll have another, hopefully, elite receiver on a cheap contract for 4 years, while other teams sign their star receivers at those 25, 30 mil deals. Yeah. And Cam is good with numbers. This seems like the obvious choice to me. Has your percent chance of them drafting receivers, has that changed at all? Is it still 5 probably?
No, it's gone up somewhat. And I've changed my mind. Like I have tried to clear my mind, my clouded thinking. I've tried to clear that, and I'm trying to have acceptance of what could change. And I think that I was too much. I've definitely changed. So like that point about me is 1,000% correct. Because the more I read about this and think about it, and just accept it. Like acceptance is so important here, and I'm accepting of difference, of the fact that I would probably go up to. Now I'm not going to go crazy here. I'm not going to go crazy because I'm just guessing. How about 15%? 5 to 15 sound fair?
Sure.
Because I'm not going like I'm accepting of what I think could change, but until I'm proven. And here's the one thing that sort of throws me for a loop, because I do think that they're going to do things differently. But bringing back so much of this roster did surprise me. So I'm not going to now jump up to 75% receiver. I'm going to go up to 15. But yeah, I am. Those points are really good points. You? Are you coming up?
No, I'm still at 5.
Okay.
I think 5 is probably right. I think I have write that down that they'll take one between rounds 1 and 5. Do I think they'll take a chance on a receiver? Yeah, I do think they'll take a chance on a wide receiver somewhere in the draft. They're playmakers. You got to stockpile as many as you can. So I don't think it's that far-fetched. And Miguel says Drake London is the no-brainer for me at 12. He's going to take our offense to an elite level, which is what we are waiting for at U.S. Bank Stadium. So, yeah, that's kind of an interesting one here. Old McDonald, who did not have a farm, says, like Judd's thought, that offensive minds will be looking to draft offense. So trade back to acquire picks in 2023 and see if Williams or London falls down the board, or you get Christian Watson, who is a physical freak. So like there is a contingency of Vikings fans. This is not just a complete reckless thing that Score North has started. Like there is some sense that can be made for you taking a wide receiver in the first round.
Absolutely. And so I guess the question is this too. So like, let's say Stingley is the obvious choice. They need a corner. Stingley's there. They grab him. I won't be surprised and I won't be disappointed. But remember, he had a really good pro day at which it appears his foot injuries have cleared up. So there's a very good chance that Sauce Gardner and Stingley are going to be gone before 12. If they're gone before 12, I think we get into a discussion now of, do you take best player? Mm-hmm. Do you take a potentially dynamic skill position offensive player, or do you trade back? So those are interesting questions. I think with Spielman, we would have had a better, because we certainly had the precedent of his previous moves, Dex.
Yeah.
I think we would have had a better feel for the answer to that question. But with these guys, I have no idea.
Yeah. That's why I think it's going to be so much fun.
Oh, it's awesome.
I agree completely. It's going to be an absolute blast. This a little off the wall, not Vikings related. Well, actually, at the end, he does make this Vikings related. Jacob and Marcel on our YouTube comment section say, kind of off topic a little bit, but do you think Kyler Murray gets traded during the NFL draft? And as well, how would that affect the Vikings? Before I get to that latter point, Judd, because Kyler's got this weird situation in Arizona. I don't think he's getting moved. I do think he's still their week 1 starter.
I agree.
But the draft is a place where wild things can happen. I know most of the quarterback market is set. You can make a case maybe Seattle is still that team looking to upgrade their quarterback, but they have now Drew Lock, and I think they signed Geno Smith.
They love Drew Lock. They love Drew Lock. I'm told, Seattle. Yeah, you and Pete Carroll.
Me and Pete Carroll love him. Just to answer this question though, from him, percent chance you think Kyler Murray does get moved at the NFL draft?
I will go 5% there.
5%.
I think it's very, very small. I think
so.
They have ironed out their differences. I think the only way he gets traded is if privately they've told him we're not going to pay you, which I don't think is going to be the case. So I think it's very, very small. I think there's a better chance, unless they're not going to pay him, I think there's a better chance Kingsbury gets fired than Kyler gets traded.
Let's go down this well for just a little bit here. Actually, and before I do that, a brief tease. Judd Zolgad, remind the audience of where we'll be on draft night and what you were sipping on over this weekend.
Oh, that would have been Surly, in particular with me, Furious, Declan Goff. Oh, he spreads it out. But you know what? All the love, of course, goes to our friends at Surly Brewing. And where we'll be on draft night, April 28th. That is a Thursday. One night only, one night appearance. First round of the draft, Surly Brew Hall will house the Purple Daily Draft Party. Doors open at 3. We start at 6. YouTube show and play, but we want you there to participate. There's going to be a camera and mic. It's going to essentially turn into a live, first ever live vent line. It's going to be fantastic. And that night, just for right now, one night, Surly is brewing a special beer called Before I Die, because what do we all want? We all want Purple to win a championship before we die. And so this ale will be on tap for one night as we drink some Before I Die beers, talk about the draft, break down the picks, Declan Goff. It is going to be a fantastic time.
Can't wait. I seriously cannot wait. I'm absolutely juiced for this. It's going to be a great time.
I like that. Juiced.
Juiced. Juiced. I'm going to be absolutely
We're going to
juiced.
be juiced.
Dan says, let's go down this well for a little bit, Jug, because this guy's name was in the news again all throughout last week on ESPN and ESPN Radio and whatnot. Think of the content Phil and Judd would have had if the Vikings had traded Kirk for Baker. Baker Mayfield provides 10 times the content. Baker does have a polarizing effect to draw content. In fact, Kirk Cousins, as anyone who follows us on this show, has a desire to draw in content. Given what you're seeing come out of Baker, and I know a lot of this is still because he's on the Browns. He hasn't been moved. He hasn't been traded. He's obviously upset. I think there are major character flaws with him. Mm-hmm. How would you feel right now if they had indeed traded Kirk and Baker Mayfield was your plug-and-play Week 1 starter for the Vikings in 2022?
Well, I guess that all really depends way more than it would on Baker on what they got back. If they got a first-round pick back, thumbs up. I'd like it. Mm-hmm. Just to be clear on Baker Mayfield, what I said and what I believe is this. If you had taken him back as part of the package, so like it's like the Browns like, you got to take him, but here's our first round pick. I'd say, okay, that's fine. Placeholder. So I'm not signing him to an extension.
Yeah.
I'm not going to invest anything. You also would have done what I wanted, which is presumably begin to turn the roster over more, create salary cap space, and expedite your process to a new improved team, which you have not done now. You're essentially going back to all your eggs being in the Spielman basket, which I don't agree with. But it would have never been like, Baker's the guy now.
Yeah.
It would have literally been, I don't really like this guy, but if that's the price to trade Kirk to get a first round pick, I will pay that price. So just to be clear, in my opinion, or in my view, it was never about Baker Mayfield. It was always about the net gain of what you would get outside of him and the ability to move on from Kirk.
Yeah, I don't love Baker. I don't think he's as bad as he was last year with that shoulder harness. I mean, he was unplayably bad last year. He was just awful by the time he hurt that shoulder and he tried to play through it. And I think he's more closer to the quarterback that he was in 2019, 2020, which was a solid quarterback, not anything world-beating, but a solid guy.
His whining annoys me.
I loathe him as a person. I'll be completely honest. I think he just lacks a lot of common sense and a lot of things that are just, he seems out of reality at sometimes. But I wouldn't mind him as the placeholder.
Yeah, exactly.
I would not at all.
But he'd be gone after that.
Yes.
So it would never be a long-term investment in Baker Mayfield.
All right, one last one here from for our daily Judd comment of the day.
Okay.
It's talking about cornerbacks. And Dave says, Judd and his beers are tired of taking cornerbacks. Judd, have you consulted with your Surly Furiouses? Have you consulted with your mini Surly products that you have? You have variety packs in there. You have your Furious in there.
Yeah.
Are you and your beers, and mostly, I want to ask your beers here, have they been telling you, are they tired of taking cornerbacks?
Well, my beers are legendary corners. They're like some of the top ones. And so they know greatness because Surly Brewing products know greatness when they see it. And what they've told me is this. You have to understand, Judd, the coaching schemes are going to change. And so the corners, you know what? Sometimes at positions like quarterback, you always need a Surly. But the corners in this case don't have to be Surly's.
No.
Now, because the defensive philosophy is going to change. So what they've told me is invest in skill position offensive players and put Furious there.
Yep.
Put any of the great drips and drops there.
I love drips and
That's
drops.
where those should be.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they've told me. And edge rushers as well. Those, of course, are Furious.
And our buddy Dave at Surly, friend of the show.
Yes,
I've been
good friend.
meaning to drop this tequila in my Grapefruit Supreme. I will report back when I have done this. I am on a mission to find this and make this happen.
Check out the, if I'm not mistaken, I think I saw some at the Cub in St. Louis Park.
Okay. I have stopped at my 3 local liquor stores.
It's not that far from
that are unnamed. Yeah, I'll hop on 394.
Don't call me. Don't tell me.
Oh, no. Can I call you?
No, don't tell me you're coming into town.
What if I find it and then can I come over?
No, you can't.
What if we socially distance? What if we even do that?
No, I'm not.
I'll bring Vinny?
No, Stella doesn't like visitors.
Not even Vinny? She doesn't want to meet Vinny?
It's Vinny. What's he like?
He's a good boy. He's
young.
He's young.
He might pee in my carpet.
He might pee in the carpet. He's
Okay,
mostly potty trained. He's doing all right.
You make sure you get that.
My favorite part about Vinny, last thing before we wrap here, not a barker. However, he is a whiner.
Yeah.
He is, and I think
Holly, our previous dog, was
okay. As a dog owner who's had both of them, would you rather have the barker or the whiner?
The whiner.
Yeah. The barking, I can't stand the barking.
Well, the barking's loud.
Yeah.
The whining is sort of sad and pathetic, but can be ignored.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't want, the true barker, oh boy, yeah.
Yeah, you don't want that.
Stella will bark, but not like for long periods of time.
Comment below. Is your dog a barker or is it a whiner? I want to know. This is a dog-friendly show on both Purple Daily and Mackie and Judd, so we just want to make sure everyone's doing good there. That wraps up.
Love it.
Our comments from YouTube edition right here. If you'd like to drop a comment, we do the show twice a week now. Drop it on YouTube comment section. We'll gladly answer it. Purple Daily, back at full strength tomorrow.
That's debatable.
Goodbye.